offseason is basically over, which makes it the perfect time to grade every Major League Baseball team's offseason moves. Let's go ahead and get started off with the Miami Marlins, who I think had a fine offseason, but it wasn't great. Their team's going to be really weird. There's not going to be a lot of defense to be had, but they made some good pickups like Luis Arraez. Gene Segura is a nice veteran pickup if you had other pieces around him. I actually like the addition of Matt Barnes, and Xavier Edwards was a decent prospect at one point who they picked up for not too much. Overall, I gave the Marlins a C. Not particularly crazy about their offseason. For the Minnesota Twins, I think they had one of the better offseasons in baseball. I'm going to give them an A-. Pablo Lopez was a really solid pickup. Luis Arraez is replaceable. Pablo Lopez could be a really good pitcher out in Minnesota. He showed really good signs in Miami at times. Obviously, they brought back Carlos Correa in what was one of the craziest stories of the entire offseason, and let's be honest, he's one of the best shortstops in baseball. That was a huge re-signing. I'd almost even count that as an addition, even though he didn't technically leave. Christian Vasquez is a good backup catcher, or maybe even starter for them if they don't want to go with Jeffers. And Joey Gallo is just too good to be as bad as he has been. Michael A. Taylor, a lot of just good pieces added, so I think A- is kind of fair. For the Los Angeles Dodgers, weird offseason, they actually didn't spend that much money. Instead, they spent smart. They brought Clayton Kershaw back, went out and grabbed Noah Syndergaard. JD Martinez has his hitting guru, his hitting whisperer out in LA, so I assume he's going to be pretty good. And JP Feyereisen was a under-the-radar, low-key good pickup. Miguel Rojas at short, Dodgers didn't do much to get better, though, so for me, C-. Philadelphia Phillies, let's be honest, they had one of the best off seasons in baseball, which pains me as a Philadelphia hater, but getting Trey Turner is pretty awesome. Taijuan Walker is another good starting pitcher to add to that rotation. Even though I might not be a believer in Gregory Soto or Craig Kimbrell right now, those guys do have some decent stuff and have experience and have been good at times. I think that the Phillies made overall a very good offseason, and when you bring in Trey Turner for a team who desperately needed a shortstop and added a starting pitcher and added bullpen arms, it's always going to be a good one. So like I said, A. Texas Rangers also had one of the better off seasons this year. Jacob deGrom, one of the best pitchers, if not the best pitcher in baseball, coming to Texas. If he's healthy, that's going to be huge for them. They really tried to revamp that starting rotation, grabbing guys like Nathan Eovaldi, Andrew Heaney, and making a trade for Jake Odorizzi while bringing back Martin Perez. The big addition is Jacob deGrom. I still think they're a bat or two away from being really good, but there's a world where this pitching staff is healthy and the Rangers make a run for that wild card spot. I give the Rangers a B+. Let's head up north to the Toronto Blue Jays, who had a very good offseason. Dalton Varsho trade was interesting. I ended up being a guy who liked it. I thought Dalton Varsho was a nice pickup. Chris Bassett, a good starter, pitched well with the Mets last year. I think that's a guy that's going to help them out a lot. Eric Swanson, under the radar, low-key good pickup. And bringing in Brandon Belt, I think is going to be huge to that offense. A nice left-handed power bat that it feels like they've been missing a bit. For me, the Blue Jays get a B. They made their team better. They're not disgustingly good, but this team is improved. The team that they made a big trade with, the Arizona Diamondbacks, are up next, and similarly, I think their offseason was solid. Gabriel Moreno is a big prospect to bring in. They needed a young catcher. Gabriel Moreno's that guy. He's probably going to get a ton of at-bats this year, and he's a really good hitter. Lourdes Gurriel, solid outfielder. Kyle Lewis was the Rookie of the Year. There is still a good player somewhere inside Kyle Lewis. He just has to stay healthy. And then they brought in Zach Davies, Miguel Castro. The pitching probably needs a little more help, but the Diamondbacks look like they might know what they're doing. They're going to be a fun, sneaky good team this year. I gave them a B-. Staying in the National League West, the San Francisco Giants are up next, and their offseason was okay, right? Michael Conforto, solid pickup. I actually think he's going to be pretty good. I'm rooting for him out there. Taylor Rogers, at times, has been one of the better left-handed relievers in baseball. A nice addition. Ross Stripling, good pickup. Sean Manaea, good pickup. Like, overall, they're all good pickups. Mitch Haniger was fantastic to bring in, too. I think that's one of the low-key good pickups of the year. I'm just going to give the Giants a straight-up B. But they still might just not be good, but they should compete for a wild card. It's just, I don't know, Gabe Kapler might be doing the Gabe Kapler thing he always does. Los Angeles Angels, actually, I can't believe I'm saying this. I think they had a pretty decent offseason. Brandon Drury is a nice guy to bring in. Had a good season last year. Good hitter, can play a bunch of different positions. Hunter Renfroe, I like that addition to the outfield. Hunter Renfroe is criminally underrated. Great years the last few seasons. Gio Urshela, another one of these guys who can play a bunch of different positions and play them fairly well with some decent offense. Tyler Anderson was a good pickup, although they do have like a million left-handed starters. Carlos Estevez will be nice in the bullpen. They made their team better. They still have holes. They still have problems, but I'll give the Angels a B for this offseason. I don't know what to do with the Boston Red Sox. Like, they got better, but no, they didn't. You lost Xander Bogaerts. That's a huge, huge loss, and I think that's the main reason why I'm a little hesitant to give them a good grade. Justin Turner's old, but he should be able to play really well at Fenway. Masataka Yoshida's a big question mark. Some people are really high on him. Some people are really low. I don't know where I stand. They improved the bullpen, which is big. Kenley Jansen, Chris Martin are two legitimately good pickups. Corey Kluber should be a good starting rotation piece. And then Adalberto Mondesi is interesting to be their new shortstop, but I'm not yet sold because he can't stay healthy, so I just give the Red Sox a C. For the Chicago Cubs, I actually really liked what they did this offseason. I think they could have done more, which is why I'm not going to give them an A, but I thought it was a really good offseason for them. Dansby Swanson looks like he could be a very good shortstop. He showed great signs last year in a career season. Jamison Tyone, I think, will benefit from being in Chicago outside of Yankee Stadium. He has some good stuff. I wanted him on the Mets. Cody Bellinger could return to being good, not great, but good, which would be nice for them. Drew Smyly looked good. Trey Mancini, Tucker Barnhart, Brad Boxberger, and Eric Hosmer. None of these moves move the needle by any means, but the Cubs just need to get more good players on that roster, and I think that's what they did this offseason. I'm going to give them a B-. To the south side of Chicago, for the White Sox, I mean, it's just a straight up F. Andrew Benintendi cannot be the only move, and the reason I'm not talking about Mike Clevenger is because he's probably not playing this year. Dude seems to be a real piece of shit. So if Andrew Benintendi's your only move for a team that disappointingly missed the playoffs, I mean, it's an F. It's a horrible. It's probably the worst offseason in baseball. I don't know what they're doing over on the south side. Like, they're good players there, and they're just completely wasting it. The New York Yankees had a quiet, but also not quiet offseason. Bringing back Aaron Judge was a must, and that alone gives you an A. You do anything else, it's going to be a plus on top of it, and they brought in Carlos Rodon, who I think is one of the better pitchers in baseball. I'm super high on him. I've been high on him the last couple seasons. Big Carlos Rodon fan, massive signing. I think it's going to be a great deal, similar to what we've seen with the Phillies and Zach Wheeler. This guy can win a Cy Young, might do it next year, and they brought in Tommy Kahnle and brought back Anthony Rizzo. I give the Yankees an A, even though they didn't necessarily bring in that much. Keeping Judge and bringing in Rodon alone is worthy of one of the best offseasons in baseball. And I hate the Yankees. Hate them. Atlanta Braves. Weird. I don't know what I think about this. They're a really good team, so there weren't a lot of holes to fill. They still don't really have a shortstop. Vaughn Grissom's going to be that guy, but a little bit of a question mark there. Getting Sean Murphy, though, for absolutely nothing was one of the best trades of the offseason. Sneaky good pickup. Nick Anderson. If Nick Anderson can go back to what he did with the Tampa Bay Rays, the Braves bullpen just became disgustingly good. So I gave the Braves a B- because I think Sean Murphy's an upgrade. Nick Anderson, I like some of the moves that they made for a team that didn't have a lot of holes. Brewers were like weirdly active this offseason, just kind of in bunches. And I feel like it got started off with getting William Contreras in that big trade. Also bringing in Jesse Winker is going to be big. So those are two good bats that are being added to this lineup. I like the addition of Brian Anderson. I like the addition of Owen Miller. Good depth pieces that can maybe play multiple different positions. And if they're ever interested in pitchers, I mean, you're watching. The Brewers are kind of like the Rays and the Astros and the Dodgers. They make pitching out of anything. So yeah, Justin Yeager's probably going to be sick, or Jansen Junk or Elvis Peguero. I don't know. The Brewers got some magic over there. Overall, it was okay. I gave him a C+. Oakland A's, I wanted to give them an F, but they're not the worst. Like, the White Sox were really bad. Now, I don't understand trading Sean Murphy for what they got back. It makes no sense to me. People like Esteury Ruiz, it's not me. People like Kyle Muller, Freddie Tarnok, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like enough back. They did bring in my boy Trevor May. They got an Orioles shortstop prospect in Daryl Arnaiz. Jesus Aguilar, Shintaro Fujinami, Drew Rucinski, like those last two guys, Fujinami and Rucinski, are coming from Japan and Korea, so they'll be interesting to keep an eye out for. I mean, it's a D. It's not a good offseason. Now, for my New York Mets, I'm excited to talk about this one because they legitimately had one of the best offseasons in baseball, despite losing a guy named Jacob deGrom. That doesn't happen often. KODAI Senga, Brandon Nimmo, Jose Quintana, Justin Verlander, bringing back Edwin Diaz, Adam Ottavino, David Robertson, Tommy Pham, Danny Mendick, Brooks Raley, Omar Narvaez, and they brought in about 50 different relievers who all have really good stuff. I think the Mets get an A. I think if you disagree, you probably hate the Mets or you hate me, whatever it is. It was an A offseason. The Mets were in a 101-win team last season. Might have gotten a little bit better. It's hard. But I really like what they did this offseason. There was a clear plan. They followed it, and getting a guy like Justin Verlander off a Cy Young year, keeping the best closer in baseball, one of the better center fielders in baseball, feel pretty good. San Diego Padres made some headlines this offseason. Big signing, Xander Bogaerts. That came out of nowhere, seemingly. That was unbelievable. Also kept Robert Suarez and Nick Martinez. Brought in Seth Lugo, who looks like he's going to be a starting pitcher. Don't know how I feel about that. And then some fun depth pieces like Matt Carpenter, Nelson Cruz, Adam Engel, and Pedro Severino. Fine offseason by the Padres. I'm going to give them a B. I still think they're one of the best teams in baseball. St. Louis Cardinals didn't do much. Two moves to talk about here. Willson Contreras and bringing back Adam Wainwright. Willson Contreras is definitely an upgrade at the catcher position right now. Yadi's gone. They need someone there. Willson Contreras is good, and Adam Wainwright's good. But does this make their team that much better than what they were before? No. C+. I thought the Cleveland Guardians were going to make a lot more moves. I think they did just trade Will Brennan, but really the majority of the moves came at the beginning of the offseason. Josh Bell, Mike Zunino, and Anthony Gose, who I think at one point was on the Guardians. This might be a re-signing. I really like the Josh Bell addition. That's a good power bat that they could use. And Zunino's definitely better than Austin Hedges, but that's just kind of it. It's kind of the Guardians. They're a little cheap. C+, they got better ever so slightly. Seattle Mariners were one of the first people on the market making moves. Of course, we remember that Teoscar Hernandez trade, which I thought was great for them. They also brought in Colton Wong, which I really like. Very solid second baseman, a position they need help at. AJ Pollock is a good depth outfielder or a guy who can crush lefties. Tommy LaStella, Cooper Hummel, Trevor Gott. it was a fine, solid offseason for the Mariners. I wanted them to do more, but that doesn't mean it's bad. So I give them a B. The Rays are tough because they made one move, and that was Zach Eflin, but this is also the Rays, and they don't spend money, so it's like an F, but it's also really like a C. Zach Eflin's good, though. That was a good pickup. It's just they didn't do anything else, but maybe they didn't need to. But also, I don't know what to do with the Rays. I feel like I'm wrong no matter what I say, so C. There you go, middle. Houston Astros didn't do a lot. I mean, they brought in Jose Abreu and then re-signed Michael Brantley and Rafael Montero. Two good re-signings, two guys that are going to help this team. Jose Abreu, still one of the better hitting first basemen in baseball. I mean, the numbers don't lie. The dude is just mashed ever since he came to America. And the Astros definitely need a first baseman. There is an upgrade there than what they had. I like the moves that they made. They had a decent offseason. I'm going to give them a B-. It's tough again when you're the World Series champions to get much better. They did. The Baltimore Orioles, oh, this was a disappointing one to me. I thought this was going to be the year the Orioles go for it. They looked so good to end the season. They got a good young core, and maybe they're waiting to see a little bit more. Maybe I'm being harsh on them, but I gave them a D+. Kyle Gibson, Adam Frazier, Michael Givens, Cole Irvin, and James McCann. I think you Orioles fans can agree you're a bit disappointed about what moves have been made. Nothing really moves the needle. This might make their team better. I'm not denying that, but it's just, is it enough? Is it enough? Cincinnati Reds, did you expect them to do anything? I gave them a D. Will Myers, Kurt Casale, Luke Maile, Kevin Newman, Nick Solak. This is a sad list of guys to have on your team as your big moves in the offseason. The Rockies get an F. Dick Monfort said, we could probably play 500 baseball. That's the owner, by the way, in case you didn't know. I can't even believe it. Their 4 moves they made were Pierce Johnson, Jose Urena, who's just horrible, Dylan Spain, don't know who that is, and Nolan Jones, who low-key could be a little bit of fun, but this is an F. If you're trying to play 500 baseball, it's awful. Sell the team, Monforts. Another bad, disappointing offseason, the Detroit Tigers. Matt Boyd, Michael Lorenzen, sure. Nick Maton, Matt Vierling, Donnie Sands, like, these are better than guys that they had, but this Tigers offseason was horrible. One of the most disappointing teams last season. It's just not a lot of good talent on this roster right now. They didn't really improve it. D. They have no farm system either. Like, how is that possible that you can have no farm and you stink? Kansas City Royals made some interesting moves. Like, I liked Ryan Yarbrough. I like Josh Taylor. I like Jordan Lyles. 3 solid-ish moves. AROLDIS Chapman is a low-risk, high-reward one. I don't think he's going to pay off, but I don't know. That's just probably because I'm a Chapman hater. And you brought back Zack Greinke, which is always a plus, which is why they get a C+, because of Zack Greinke. We stand Zack Greinke. My editor's team, Pittsburgh Pirates, are up now, and hopefully you'll be happy to hear that I didn't give them an F, but they don't deserve an F. I think they deserve a C+. A bunch of moves of guys that are basically depth pieces, major league caliber players, but really shouldn't be playing necessarily every day on most teams. We're talking Andrew McCutchen, Carlos Santana, G-Man Choi, Connor Joe, like all of them do things well, and that's why I think it's a C+. There are things that this team does well, and I really like Vince Velasquez coming in. I don't know, I've always been a Vince Velasquez guy. They got better, no doubt. C+, it's just they're still gonna be bad. At least I think they're gonna be bad. Last but not least, we have the Washington Nationals, who I give a D. Trevor Williams, I'm gonna miss you on the Mets. You were great. He was actually probably the best piece in that Pete Crow Armstrong trade for Javi Baez and Trevor Williams with the Cubs, now in the Nationals. Jamer Candelario, like, was good a couple years ago, stunk last year. Corey Dickerson is a depth outfielder. Dom Smith hasn't hit a home run in a calendar year plus. There's not really much here. I'm going to give them a D just because it's not the worst offseason we've seen, but it's also not good. I'd love to know who you guys think had the best offseason down in the comment section below. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk. What's your grades for your favorite team? If you did enjoy the video, please do drop a like on it. It really does help support the channel, as well as subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the content coming at you. Follow me on all my social media at GiraffeNeckMarc. Links are in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. You know the drill from here on out. YouTube recommends you watch this video. This is my most recent upload, so click through those if you have not yet seen them. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow for another video. Bye!